Hi, welcome to Digital Defense. My name is Jordan Robertson. I'm a cybersecurity reporter with Bloomberg, and we are here in San Francisco today to talk about the Yahoo breach. So we wanted to give you kind of the behind-the-scenes story of why Yahoo disclosed the breach that it did yesterday, and actually Bloomberg and a private cybersecurity researcher played an instrumental part in that. So first I wanted to give you some backstory about this Yahoo breach. It is the biggest on record. It's a massive breach. And it's a massive problem for Yahoo at a really sensitive time when they're trying to sell their business to Verizon. So the backstory is this. July, Verizon announces it's going to spend $4.8 billion to buy Yahoo's core internet assets. That's the Yahoo email, the fantasy sports, all the stuff that we're all familiar with. September comes around, Yahoo announces a major breach. 500 million accounts were compromised. November comes around, Yahoo announces that it's investigating yet another breach. And then yesterday, Yahoo announces a second breach involving potentially 1 billion accounts. Now, to put that in context, that's the company. Yahoo has 1 billion users, and 1 billion users' accounts were compromised. Now, it's impossible to overstate how significant this is for Yahoo at a time they're trying to sell to Verizon. And as Bloomberg News reported this morning, Verizon is considering whether to ask for a reduction or demand a reduction in the price of the deal or walk away altogether. So this is a really significant development, and one that potentially could be, an existential threat to Yahoo. And the really kind of cool backstory that I wanted to share with you today is, the role that Bloomberg and a private cybersecurity researcher played in this disclosure. A month or so ago, I got contacted by a security researcher named Andrew Komarov. He works for a company called InfoArmor, and he's deep in this world of tracking cyber criminals, infiltrating their private forums, and helping law enforcement and companies track down stolen data online and identify the culprits. And what Andrew presented me with was very compelling. What it was apparently, the Yahoo database of hundreds of millions of accounts. But it wasn't the database that Yahoo had disclosed previously. It appeared to be a second database of, again, hundreds of millions of stolen Yahoo accounts. And they appeared to be authentic. So we checked a number of the passwords. The passwords were very easily discovered in this database. They were encrypted, but using a very insecure method. We start digging into it, and the story we decided to look at was twofold. One was, was Yahoo compromised a second time, potentially for even more records? And kind of most compellingly, as part of this, there was a data field that was leaked in this database that was users' backup email addresses. So in case they ever got locked out of Yahoo, this would be where Yahoo would send like a password reset. Well, what was interesting about that was there were more than 150,000 people who were U.S. government employees who put their official U.S. government addresses as this backup email field. What's significant about that is you can drill down a level further and see who works at the NSA, who works at the FBI, who works at CIA. So you get a snapshot of Yahoo users who are also U.S. government employees, and you can do a third form of kind of cross-checking and figure out who these people are. And what we discovered is you had ambassadors in there. You had Congress people and their aides. You had FBI agents. You had NSA technicians. You had CIA managers. So those were the two stories we published yesterday. We went a week or so ago to Yahoo with our findings, and we said, hey, it looks like you have a second breach here that's as big or bigger than the earlier breach. And on top of it, the information that leaked included these identifiers for U.S. government employees and foreign government employees in sensitive positions. And I want to show you kind of an example of what that looked like from our perspective. So this is one of the charts that Andrew Komarov, again with InfoArmor, prepared for us. This is a basic chart of the .mil addresses. So that's the U.S. military domain. And what you see here is the biggest proportion of those government emails that leaked were Army addresses. So these were Army, employees who submitted, again, their backup email address to Yahoo. So you've got Army, you've got Navy, you've got Air Force, you've got Marine Corps. So that's the .mil. There's another category, the .govs, which I'll show you next. And the point of all this is, so these are over 100,000 accounts just in the .mils alone. you look at the .govs, and what you see here are the big line is U.S. government, yeah, .gov for U.S. The others are official government accounts for other countries, so Brazil, Ukraine, Australia, Taiwan, South Africa, and on and on. Now again, these are not a comprehensive database of government employees, but these are government employees who identified themselves, self-identified, to Yahoo, and which now, who now can be targeted by, foreign intelligence services. And as we saw with the Hillary Clinton, WikiLeaks drama, her campaign manager, John Podesta, his Gmail was leaked. And there were like 20 or 30 rounds of email disclosures from that. So personal email for people in sensitive positions are, it's a really important, subject, and it's a very sensitive type of leak. I want to say as well that, this is an interactive show, so I want you to write in with questions. We're going to be checking questions here, and anybody with questions, please feel free to write in, because, the backstory here of how this breach came to be disclosed was pretty compelling. So again, we went to Yahoo about a week or so ago and said, hey, we've got this information. It appears that you have a second breach. We're ready to report that. Can you comment on that? And Yahoo came back again and disclosed yesterday. They kind of got ahead of the story, disclosed yesterday, and said, we had 1 billion accounts breached. It's a massive deal. And the kind of the existential threat again that it poses for Yahoo, can't be understated, because if this deal is in jeopardy, let's say Verizon walks away from this deal, that'll be the first time that we know of where, cybersecurity incidents, data breaches has led to, the dissolution of, what is, kind of a critical deal for Yahoo. They need to sell this company. They've obviously been facing some pretty serious business challenges in terms of, losing market share to Google and search, and so on. But the issue for Yahoo is that they are still one of the dominant email providers and one of the dominant online advertising brokers. So Verizon, as we reported this morning, is facing some some pretty profound questions about this deal. It's very clear, at the very least, they're going to ask for a reduction in price, because there's an interesting component of what happens when a data breach occurs. What happens when a data breach occurs is, as I'm sure many of you have seen, if you've been the victim of a data breach, is when a company gets breached, what they do is they issue identity theft protection services. They will offer everybody who was breached, a year or two of identity theft, monitoring and remediation services. The problem for Yahoo, and the reason they haven't done that, is they've had over 1 billion users get breached here. Identity theft protection services cost, let's call it $10 or so a month for an individual. At a corporate rate, you're going to get a significant discount. Even if it were at $1 a month, Yahoo is talking about potentially billions of dollars in costs associated with providing that service to users. And the reason that's significant is for users of Yahoo to take Yahoo to court, they would have to demonstrate some harm. Their account was compromised or some such. Offering those identity theft protection services, kind of inoculates the company from those lawsuits, and Yahoo just can't do that. So that's the issue that Verizon is studying right now, is what's our legal liability and what are our defenses? They don't have very many good defenses, so what they're asking Yahoo to do is, you shoulder the costs. The company that remains after this deal, Yahoo, you shoulder those costs, otherwise we're not going through with it. First question come in is, what is Yahoo doing to solve this problem? Well, Yahoo is, actively, resetting some users' passwords, and it's also asking, users to kind of be proactive on their own and reset passwords on their own. Again, the problem with this is that that's kind of a very old school way of doing it. What Yahoo needs to do is reset every affected user's password, which it may do. And then again, offer identity theft protection services, because the information that leaked here is not just email address and password, it's date of birth. It's cell phone number. Again, in the government, example, it's backup email addresses. So that puts Yahoo users at risk for a lot of different types of identity theft, not just account break-in. Next question is, what does Yahoo do differently than Google and others? Well, this is a very relevant question because, post Edward Snowden leaks, a few years ago, the Edward Snowden leaks were a very big wake-up call for Silicon Valley and the large companies in Silicon Valley like Google, Yahoo, and others. So what Google decided to do, based on our reporting, is they really doubled down on securing their network. Google is spending a fortune trying to identify holes in its network, trying to look for hackers, both the government and the criminal variety, and they're hiring a lot of really, really good top-flight security researchers to do that work, both directly for Google as well as some, kind of independent research outfits. Yahoo, on the other hand, from what we've learned in some of the reporting since these breaches became known, kind of went the other direction. They didn't listen, according to some of our sources, to their security people who said, we need to do this, we need to do that, we need these protections in place. And to the best of our knowledge, what Yahoo did was they prioritized product over security. And you can understand why they do that. The problem becomes you really roll the dice. You really are gambling when you don't listen to your cybersecurity people about what the risks are, because you can have not just a regular breach, you can have a catastrophic breach. And that's what Yahoo has suffered. This is a truly catastrophic breach. And if it kills the Verizon deal, it's unclear if they can sell to anybody else. Next question to come in is, do Google and other companies also have data breaches and we just don't find out about them? Here's the reason that question is very interesting. What Yahoo disclosed is what they are legally required to disclose. When companies announce data breaches, it's generally, in most cases, not out of kind of the goodwill of their heart that they want to alert users to threats. That is not why these companies make these breach disclosure decisions. The reason they make these decisions to disclose is they are legally bound in, in basically all 50 states to disclose when personally identifiable information is stolen from them. That's why Yahoo disclosed. Again, we were about to report a story. The information is personally identifiable. Yahoo is able to validate it, and they disclosed. That is such a small subset of the type of information that hackers go after. The much broader type of data that hackers go after is corporate intellectual property. And based on some of our reporting, that's what Yahoo and Verizon are really haggling over right now, because companies don't have to disclose that information. If Yahoo's corporate intellectual property was stolen, such as, let's call it, the search algorithm, or their technology for delivering ads to targeted users, that's extraordinarily valuable intellectual property. Yahoo is under no obligation, federal or state, to disclose that information. Now, they'd have to disclose it to Verizon as part of the acquisition process, or they could be sued. But in terms of disclosing it to the public, they're under no obligation to do that. So in response to the question, there are breaches that happen all the time that we never learn about, again, because states require companies to disclose when users' personal information is violated. If it falls into the other bucket of corporate IP, you'll never hear about it. Next question is, do they know who's behind the Yahoo cyber attack? I like this question because there are two answers. This is a very contentious issue. When Yahoo first came out with their first disclosure in September, again, the 500 million accounts, Yahoo kind of remarkably attributed the attack to a state actor. It's very rare that you see companies do that, and when you see them do that, it's worth taking it with a grain of salt, because there may be business motivations behind that attribution, as it's called. Bloomberg has reported that, that within Yahoo, the evidence backing up that assertion wasn't ironclad, which is what we reported. Blaming an attack on a nation-state actor is a really serious thing, and you've got to have pretty good evidence to make that claim. And again, that's kind of in dispute with inside the company. This breach, the much bigger breach, the billion accounts, again, working with the researcher Andrew Komarov, what we discovered was those are cyber criminals. Those are hackers who sell primarily to spammers, kind of mega spammers. And the significance of that is, this breach occurred in 2013. The spammers have had access to 1 billion user accounts for over 3 years, which means they had been taking over people's accounts to send out spam, because if your account is kind of fresh and clean in the parlance of hacking, Yahoo's not going to block emails you send, so spammers love that. And that's a pretty serious issue, because people have made a lot of money off of this data for a pretty long time. And it does throw into question, was a nation state behind the other attack, or was it another criminal group looking to spam? Next question we have is, what user information was accessed with the recent breach, passwords, accounts, content, etc. So you've got basically, if you signed up for a Yahoo account, it's basically everything you gave them. It's username, it's password. I should say Yahoo hashed the password, which means they encrypted it, but the problem with this big breach is they encrypted it in an insecure way. So you can crack the password using like Amazon servers. Like you basically aim a supercomputer or a server at these passwords, and you can just crack them. As well as date of birth, cell phone number, backup email addresses, security questions and answers, unencrypted. That's everything. I mean, that information, again, could be used to compromise not just your Yahoo account, but any other accounts where you use, let's call it, the same security questions. So your bank accounts, things like that. And I'll tell you an interesting side note as well. Working with the security researcher, he's one of these guys who, in tracking cyber criminals, he kind of monitors and infiltrates their private communication channels, so their emails, their servers, things like that. And he saw a transaction happening live, which we reported, and he saw this database being sold, this billion-user database, to 3 separate individuals. Those individuals are very interesting. 2 of them he very easily identified as these mega spammers. These are groups that send spam out on the orders of millions or billions of emails. The third one, though, was not a spammer. The third one, though, was very compelling because the third one was a person who messaged the seller and said, I need to check if these 10 individuals are in this database. And they were, Komarov wouldn't tell us exactly who they were. He's doing the process of notifying these people. But they were top US government and business officials mostly. That's not a spammer interested in that information. That is, according to Komarov's assessment, likely a foreign intelligence service. Saying, hey, we'll buy this database because we can infiltrate top US corporate and government officials via this breach. That's really significant because that's powerful data in their hands. The next question is, shouldn't they go back to the drawing board and restructure their encryption capabilities? Well, these are the questions that Verizon and Yahoo are both looking at, because Verizon at this point has basically had to disclose, we lost everything. We lost, in terms of user information, it's all gone. So can we protect it again in the future? Sure. They're going to change passwords. They're going to do other things to protect user information. But from Verizon's standpoint, the Yahoo user base is a key reason why they were buying the company. They want all of the members of Yahoo's fantasy sports leagues, all the members of Yahoo's email services. And if users start to leave Yahoo or abandon their accounts because they feel like, look, this company can't protect me, that's going to be a big problem for Verizon. The good news is that if this deal goes through, Verizon is known as a very tech-savvy organization. They have some very, very good cybersecurity people there. So you can take some measure of comfort in that the accounts would probably be better protected under that scenario. But structuring this stuff and restructuring these protections is a very hard challenge, especially when you're talking about a merger. Is Yahoo guaranteeing? Next question is Yahoo guaranteeing that this will not happen again? Another good question, because as these sequential data breaches showed, Yahoo doesn't have a very good sense of what compromises have happened on its network. And the problem with that is, as we had explained to us by a cybersecurity kind of incident responder, as they call it, my question to them was, Yahoo's been working with some top cybersecurity investigators for the past 3 months, scouring its network for these breaches. Why couldn't they have seen this? And the answer is, even when you hire these top firms, you're never going to get a complete picture of what happened on your network, especially if it's several years ago. Next question is, why did they wait so long to disclose it? The answer is they probably didn't know. And they probably didn't know until this cybersecurity researcher passed the information to US law enforcement, which then passed it to Yahoo in November. So you really have to question the level of visibility that a company has into its own security operations when they don't know for 3 years that they lost 1 billion accounts. And I wanted to thank everybody for tuning in today. We got some great questions, and I hope you learned a little bit about the backstory of how this breach came to light. This is something that we're going to be following closely at Bloomberg, as this deal either progresses or it doesn't. These are high stakes for Yahoo and high stakes for Verizon. We really haven't seen that before in terms of data breach repercussions. And as always, we'll be discussing it on the show. We want to take questions offline as well. So if you have any further questions you want me to follow up on a future show, on Twitter, I'm at JordanR1000. So please feel free to message me there. We'll try to get to some more questions next time. And as always, we do this every week, every Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern. Thanks again for everybody who wrote in, and look forward to talking to you all next week.